Hi guys, in this video we're going to make Beast from Beauty and the Beast. So I've just printed off a picture of his face and I've cut around the edge, and I'm using a square cake to just cut around. Now I'm not worrying about his ears and his horns, and I'm going to add a little bit of extra cake of some of my cut-offs back to the bottom where like the hair is on his chin, and I'm going to stick this now onto a board. Now I've cut my cake in half, you can see, before I cut out the shape of him. And we're just going to put some buttercream in the middle, and I've got a chocolate buttercream on mine. We'll place that bit on, and then we're going to buttercream the extra little bit that we put on for his chin. Just stick that onto there. And then there's just some extra little bits at the side as well where it's a little bit short, so I've just added an extra little bit. And I've just added an extra little bit of cake to the other side as well, just to bulk out his face at each side. So what I'm going to do now is try and cut up the template that I've made into a few different sections. So because I'm cutting him up so much, I actually printed off a second one, so I've got two templates that are exactly the same size, so that if I need them I can use them. I'm going to trim down the side of that face. Once I put my lining going down, I'm going to run my knife across. Can you see? And that's just taken the cake down a step. And then once I've done that, I'm going to trim off the next layer of his face, so his face is getting a little bit narrower, and we're going to repeat the same thing. So we'll put the template on and we're going to push our knife down and then go across sideways. So I don't know how well you can see that. So it's created another little step in our cake. And we're going to work on the eye and the nose area. So we're going to just trim these bits apart so that I can work out where those eyes are going to be. So again, just a line around that bit. And then we'll cut the eyes out so we can see how big an area they need. So same across the bottom of these. And then you're going to kind of cut these out, taking the knife in at a bit of an angle so you're left with two deep eye holes. And now his eyebrows are quite raised, so I've got an extra bit of sort of the cake off cut that I haven't binned, that I've just kept, and I'm just giving them a rough trim into shape so that they look nice and arched. And then I've got another bit of cake off cut that we'll add for the nose, so just trim that down. I'll bring the nose to a little bit of a point at the end there, a little bit of buttercream, and another little bit onto where the chin is. These ones now aren't exact shapes, they're just sort of offcuts that I'm sticking on, just to give a bit more dimension to the cake. So once that's on, we can buttercream it all the way around. And you might find, like me, that the cake's crumbling a little bit, so if it does, just stick it in the freezer sort of for 15 minutes or so to harden it up a little bit. We'll completely cover that. Try and smooth it off the best you can. With some of the shapes it's quite difficult. I've got some fondant that's ready dyed, so I've got a brown one, there's chocolate flavour, and then like a paler brown one that I think is a teddy bear brown. And I'm going to mix them both together, so I've got like a mid-brown. I'm going to roll this out, and this one's going to cover the whole cake. So it wants to be nice and large, that it will fully cover that. We're going to push that over, give it a bit of a smooth with your hands, working in particular on all the areas that are a little bit deeper, but just press gently, don't suddenly push your finger in really hard, otherwise the fondant will tear. And I'm going to trim off all the extra bits around the edge at the bottom. And now you can see, once I've done that, I've picked up my template, and my template's back in one piece. So this is the second template that I have. And I'm going to mark around everywhere where he's kind of got a little dint in his fur. And then when I take off the template, you see, I can go a little bit deeper with those lines, so it looks like his fur. And I'm going to start cutting this one up again. So I'm just taking like the very outside layer of his face off, and then we're going to draw around that with our modelling tool, creating indentations. Next layer. And just remove, and again make sure you're putting the template back in the same place each time. Indent that with your modelling tool, and again place in those little hairlines. And another one which is really slimming his face down now as we go along, and you're going to repeat the same thing again, and repeat all the same on the other side now. Then I'm going to cut around like the dark brown area, which is like the top of his face, and the brown icing that we had that hasn't been mixed with the lighter brown, we're going to use and roll out nice and thin, and then trace around this cutout that we've done. Now I've left a little bit extra at the top to allow for going down sort of the top of the cake, and after I've traced around that with my tool, I'm going to cut through with the knife. And as I'm cutting through at the bottom bits, I'm cutting some little V's out, sort of little triangle shapes, so that it looks like pieces of hair. And then we're going to place that back on the face. Just keep looking at your template so you know exactly where it should go. Position that round there. Just keep checking it fits. If you need to stretch it out anywhere, just give it a gentle sort of little stretch with your fingers. And then we're going to push those eye sockets back in so that they're nice and deep. So just a bit of an indentation sort of the top of his nose with your modelling tool to make him look a little bit like he's scowling. And then we're going to do a bit more cutting out. So you'll see it's quite repetitive is the process for this. And you're using your template a lot for your guidelines. So I'll put that back on there, mark around where the chin is. Now I've used the lighter brown on its own for this. And we're just going to shape that just around the chin and trim off any extra. And the same as we did on the side of the face to create the fur, we're going to do the same on the chin. So you're just kind of pushing in quite deep with your modelling tool, but not so deep that it cuts through to the cake. And then we're going to trim this little bottom bit off where his mouth is. Again, we're going to mark that onto the cake. And I'm just going to guess where these little lines go rather than cutting that bit out. So 2 lines up from where the mouth is up to the nose. Taking the dark brown, you want to roll 2 thin strips that are just going to go near the bottom of his mouth, so up from the chin bit up to where his lip's going to go. Taking some more of the brown, you just want a little sausage shape. We're just going to bend slightly. I'm going to put a little crease line in the middle that will become his bottom lip. I'm going to cut out his nose. I'm rolling the lighter brown again, and we're going to cut this out. Now the nose has got sort of some hairlines on it, so we'll draw those on once it's in place. So give it a good press down. So here we go, putting these on. Just using the modelling tool again for these. And I have cut out his nose, but actually you probably find you didn't have to cut out his nose for this bit. I'm just using it as a guideline for the size. So I've got the dark brown, and then I've taken more dark brown and I've added a little bit of black to it. And I've rolled a little sausage shape of each colour, and I'm just kind of pushing those together and then giving them a slight bend in the middle. And this is going to become the nose. So that's just going to be pushed on the bottom of like the light brown bit, poking some nostrils using the more rounded end of my modelling tool. I've just realised he had a bit of pale brown under the mouth that I've missed off, so I've just rolled thin a piece to just slot under that lip. I'm just putting a couple of little marks in his head, just so I know later where to put the horns and ears. So back to my pale brown, we're going to roll that out and cut around our template for the eyebrows. So you just do exactly the same for both eyebrows. Now I've put the template back on his face so that I can work out where to put that eyebrow. And once it's stuck in place, I'm going to add a bit more detailing. So I'm going to kind of push into it again to create a more fur-like texture on it. So you don't need loads of lines, just a few on there. And then next we're going to take some white fondant and we're going to roll a ball. Compare the size to the one on your template. I think mine might be a tiny bit bigger. One for the other side. So I've made them slightly oval rather than completely round. And I'm going to push those in place. And while we've got the white out, we'll make him some teeth. Roll them into triangle shapes, and we're going to sort of bend them slightly so that when we put them against the bottom lip, we can curve them inwards both a little bit. And I've just got a plunger cutter that I'm going to use for pushing into each eye so that I'm getting a nice round shape, which I can use as my guide for when I'm painting on his eyes. So I'm going to paint the centres of his eyes on with some royal blue, and I'm just using a tiny bit of water to mix in with it. You can use like alcohol to mix with your food colourings, that's fine, but I like to just use water. So we'll paint the circles in both eyes, and then we're going to roll some round black dots for the centres and push your black right into the centre of your eye. Then we want some smaller white little dots, and they're just going to push into each eye again. So now I've rolled some of the pale brown and the dark brown, and then I'm going to kind of put them on top of each other and roll them together. And I'm going to use a circle cutter, like that. Half them, so you've got 2 semicircles, fold them in half, pinching them a little bit at the end that you've just cut. You're going to push that in place just next to sort of where the eyebrow comes. Do the same with the other side. And then the horns, I've mixed a little bit of black in with my dark brown to make it even darker, and I've rolled a thick cone, and I apologise because I think I've just got this out of shot. I just curled it round, matching it to the template, and then just push that on in place on the face. So there he is, finished. I've also done a bell cake to go with him, and I'll be uploading the video of Belle in just a few days as well. Thank you for watching.
If you liked this video and would like to see more, please click on the images of the other videos suggested. Also, please do subscribe to my channel using the button at the bottom right hand corner of the screen. You can also visit my cake website and my Facebook page to see more cakes and ideas.